Once again, hello everybody. In this video, we are going to take a look at the Tripowin Kailua. I believe that's how you say it. It's a Tripowin HBB collab. This is his third or fourth, I guess fourth if you count the Olena SE collab with Tripowin. This is $80, so it's cheaper than both versions of the Olena. It's a little more expensive than the Melee, which I believe is discontinued. I don't see it sold anywhere. I see very similar IEMs to the Melee. I can't remember the name of it. It has a whole different name. Looks like it's using the same shell, but oddly the price is substantially more. It's even claiming to have the graphene driver, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm seeing it priced at the $100 mark and stuff. But anyway, this is about the Kailua. It is a dual dynamic driver, a 10mm DLC and titanium coated full range driver, and a 6mm titanium coated, I guess, tweeter. I don't believe it's doing anything except for treble. Not too sure. I don't know how they have the frequency range divided between the two drivers. They might have the 10mm doing everything and then the 6mm just helping with the highs, or it could be I don't know. I don't want to speculate on it because it's really not important. Anyway, you get this tiny little box, and oh, I haven't even mentioned yet. I paid $80 for it. It was $79.99. At the time of recording this, just today, I seen a $5 coupon on Amazon, so I guess you on Amazon, so I guess you can get it for 75 now. The cheapskate I am. Wish I would have waited a week and a half, but it's for $80, whatever. It's $5. I'll live. Hopefully this video will help others. I'm trying to get it out as quick as possible since this is still new. And what reviews I have seen on it, in my opinion, it feels like they left a lot out. I do want to make this video somewhat short, or at least short compared to my other really long videos, just in hopes of getting more eyes on the video. And I would like to get some foot traffic going and have people get an educated idea of what they're spending their money on, and hopefully get more than just hype. Because I do believe, even though the few videos I've seen didn't necessarily gush over this, they did praise it, and I do think these are going to be something that gets a lot of word and a lot of hype going. So back to the to the item at hand. The Tripowin Kailua. Get the little box here. As you see, I got the black and blue version. Even though on the side it says titanium, I don't exactly know what that's about, but nothing really special going on with the box. It does show the specs, if you can see that. 10mm DLC titanium coated dynamic, 6mm titanium dynamic, 12 hertz to 36 kilohertz, which, whatever, not too important. It is 19 ohms. I did measure these, and it's perfectly matched. They both, I think it was like actually closer to, oh crap, I'm blanking now. It was either 18.9 or 19.9. It might have been 19.9 because I did measure it with the cable, because the tips on my meter weren't thin enough to get into the 2-pin. So it might have been actually 19.9, but it measured exact on each side, which is something I don't see too often in the IEM range, especially with ones below $100. Normally they'll be off 0.1, 0.2. Normally 0.1 is good, but they'll be off. I'll see some off 0.2 or so, 0.3. So that right there was impressive seeing that. The sensitivity, 106 dB per milliwatt. I mean, they are pretty sensitive to drive. These aren't anything that's going to take crazy power to get going. You're going to get very close to what they have to offer, even out of your phone. It's going to be a very accessible IEM. Like, you can make the $80 purchase and not have one of those dongle DACs or even a desktop DAC and amp. You can spend the $80 on this and know you're still gonna get close to what it can do. You're still gonna get the true idea of this IEM. So anyway, back to the box. You guys see, nothing special going on. It's a tiny little cardboard box. Opened up. Another, pull the sleeve off, take the cover off the box. You have nice foam there, which I appreciate, although, I mean, well, whatever. I don't even want to make a complaint about it because I'm glad they did it. I wish a couple other IEMs I've had recently would do that. Anyway, so here they are. They're actually gorgeous. They're beautiful in my opinion. I love them. I love the black and blue. I do wish this was a darker blue, but I don't want to be too picky. They feel amazing as far as build quality wise. So let's take it out. You get in this insert IEMs in there. You take that out. We'll look at them in a second. You get 6 pairs of tips. As you can see, I'm not using any of the stock tips. These are very much like the tips that came with the Melee. I mean, I don't like them. To me, they just feel cheap. They kind of have that pop. Like, it's very easy to break the seal with these tips. Now, the gray ones, these lighter gray ones seem better, but they don't help the sound at all the way they are. And then you get this cable. Very bare bones packaging. Your little warranty thing down there. Let me put that to the side for now. But so you get this cable. It's again silver plated, but it's not. I do not believe any of these IEMs, these Tripowin IEMs, are actually silver plated, even though I am aware of how cheap silver plating can be, especially on cable. Like, they use very small amounts of silver when the wire is actually really silver plated, so it doesn't increase the cost all that much. But anyway, as you can see, I'm not using this either, but it's a good cable. Like, it looks like junk. You kind of feel it. It feels super cheap. It's very, very thin. Like, I don't even know. Look, well, by chance I have this. This is the KZ cable, I believe. This is the one that, I believe I mentioned it in the video, kind of has that Sony feel. And everybody complains about this cable. It does measure somewhat high, but, I mean, look at the thickness difference. This kind of has 2 of what this is. It's like, very thin cable. But despite that, this measures nearly half the resistance of this. This is over 1 ohm, is like 1.1, 1.2, something like that. This, I'm getting 0.6 when I measure it, which is what I look for in a cable. Like, anything in that range I find works well with all the IEMs I have anyway. There is one problem with this cable, however, that at least for me makes it unusable with this IEM. And that is these connectors right here. And it's unfortunate because they're nice and tiny. You would think it would be well suited to this IEM. However, these edges are so sharp. Like, they spent no time on finishing. It is incredibly sharp. you put it in your ear, and this, at least on my ear, this rests right up against it and digs into it. It's a very unpleasant experience, and it kind of ruined this cable for this, yeah, for that IEM, for me anyway. It's just pain. With other IEMs, no issue at all, because normally that isn't poking into my ear. No issue at all. I actually like it, especially for portable, going out and about. This is a very great, well, a very good cable, because it hangs nice. It's thin, so it's not one of those cables that stand out a lot. However, it does still have at least the pretend silver plating that kind of gives you that that nice quality look. Anyway, so now to the whole purpose of this video. What is it? The Kailua. You can see they're very similar to the Blonde BL05. Very similar. This side is nearly identical. However, this underside, I wish my lighting was better. That's a shame. But if you can see that, this underside is much more tapered in and smoothed out compared to the Blonde. However, that Blonde BL05 kind of fit better, kind of sat in the ear better. It was less of an issue. These just absolutely tiny. I believe I might have shown them next to the OH2 in the video I did for the ICO OH300. They're very similar in size. They're nowhere near as comfortable as the OH2, the ICO OH2. They aren't as comfortable. And like I said with the OH2, how they have their quirks, with those tips and stuff, you got to get everything kind of just right, and that those tips just don't work for everybody. So it's a whole kind of gamble, and you also got to fiddle with it, get everything seated just right. But once you do, it kind of locks in, and you almost forget they're in your ear. These aren't like that. They look like they'd be amazingly comfortable, but for me and the way my ears are shaped, and I guess the way my ear canals are shaped, the shape of these is probably the biggest negative for me for this IEM. I tried so many tips. I went through every single pair of tips I have, and out of roughly 24 different types of tips, I think it was 3, possibly 4, that actually was able to make a seal, and I did make a seal and keep the seal if I moved. Every other pair just either flat out wouldn't make a seal at all, and that was the majority. Flat out just couldn't make a seal at all, or within a minute or two, without even moving, the seal would break, or the second I moved, chewed something, opened my mouth, the seal would break. Getting tips for this was a giant pain. It really was, because now I'm down to 4 different tips, and I'm still trying to fix other issues. And we're not going to get into that yet, though, but we're still going to talk about the build and the size. Excuse me. Because it's such a shame. They're gorgeous. They're tiny. It just seems like they'd be perfect. But what hurts them, these tips is what, and I wish I could remember the name of these. I don't even remember what they came from, because doing all that tip swapping, I kind of got lazy, and I have all my tips now bunched together, so I don't exactly know what came from what, so I have to figure that out. But I don't know if you guys can see that. It's unfortunate with my terrible lighting at the moment, but if you guys can see just how severe that angle is. Like, there it doesn't look so bad, but it is just steep and long. Like, that's kind of a crazy angle. And with most stuff, like here's the Star River. I think they're amazingly comfortable. And you compare, like, look at just how massively different those angles are, and that really hampers the fit and the comfort because it's angled so much. It's like it's almost trying to pry its way out of your ear, and you always almost feel pressure because even when you get it in all nice, it's almost like this little back part starts pushing, and it's like just trying to pry its way out of your ear. It does not want to be like my ear canal must be more like going that way as opposed to just shooting this way, so it kind of wants to start popping out a bit, and it's just and but having, I don't know, it was annoying, a pain to get everything sorted, especially when it started limiting my tuning options with tips, because again, now instead of having 24 different options, I now have 4 to try to fix the issues, and this unfortunately does have issues. All these IEMs I have up here are here because they're dual dynamics. This is the 0. I don't have the reds. I did hear them. They're good. I owned the 0 first, and the reds weren't unique enough for me. They kind of sounded like a lot of other stuff I have, so it wasn't worth putting another $50 in on something to get this quality just tuned like the other stuff I have. So I prefer just sticking with something that had a more unique characteristic. So anyway, besides the point, this has a 10 millimeter driver, and I think a 7.8 millimeter driver. It's a polyurethane surround, I believe, with a what is it? Is this the one? It might have the liquid crystal like membrane for the dome. Then we have this here. It's the Tri-Star River. It's a tunable one, which kind of really isn't tunable. I just keep it. It has like the 32 ohm setting and a 48 ohm setting. It's only those 2 options. There is 2 different sounds, but the sound that I prefer is the 48 ohm option. That's how I keep it. Now this has a 10 ohm or a 10 millimeter beryllium driver and a 6 millimeter titanium driver. Here we have the Legato. Still one of my favorite IEMs. Incredibly detailed, but the sensitivity is very low. Like, I know that people read the number on the box, and I don't think I had the box next to me, but it says something like 108 dB or 117 dB. It's like you read it and you think, okay, it's very sensitive. However, the way they're doing it isn't the same. I think when you actually wait a minute, let me just find the box before I start talking out. Here we go. Okay. It says 108 dB per volt. Most of the stuff you see with 108 dB sensitivity, when you read it, it'll say it has per milliwatt. That's per volt. When you actually convert it to milliwatt, you're 98, 96 dB per milliwatt, which is very low. These take power. You put power into them, you find the right tips, and there's an incredible amount of detail and texture to these. Nice, warm, enjoyable. And look at the size comparison between the Legato. Oh, am I getting... Yeah, these magnets in here are strong. I didn't know that. I don't know if you guys can see that, but holy smokes. That's crazy. Huh. I did not realize that. None of these. That is nuts. Okay, anyway. Back to this. Oh, hit 20-minute mark. This is apparently going to be a long one. That's a shame. But here's the legato. Look at the size of this chunky boy. This has the 12 millimeter woofer, which is supposed to be a, some places claim it's a DLC. The only thing I see consistent about the 12 millimeter spec is it's a multi-layer compound of some sort. But this also has the 6 millimeter titanium tweeter. Titanium jar. And look at the size of that thing compared to, like, it's crazy the difference. These are super comfy though. They just, you don't want to be seen in public with them. Now we got these. Somehow, these might have the strongest magnets I have come across. Like, I don't think any of my other IEMs can do that. That's nuts. Now these, again, while this is 12 millimeter, these have the 10. That 10 millimeter, again, is that titanium coated, diamond-like carbon coated woofer, and then the titanium coated tweeter thing. 6 millimeter. And I do believe it's possible it's similar to the 6 millimeter in here. Like, they do share these three right here. The Star River, the Kailua, and the Legato actually do share some similarities and some tonal stuff in the treble range. There is some similar stuff there. It's kind of everything outside the treble that makes all of these different, these three different. Now, right off the bat, the Star River really isn't in the same class as the Legato, and it's not even in the same price bracket as the Legato or the Kailua. But again, because it's dual driver, and I do think there is something similar going on with the 6 millimeter in there. I just don't think it has a I just don't think the beryllium 10 millimeter in there is up to par with the full range drivers in these two. With that said, though, very enjoyable. I really like these. I think these were underrated. I kind of don't understand how these zeros got the hype they got, but these just kind of got slept on. I honestly don't get it. But right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, those two, as far as quality, soundstage, basically almost as far as everything, just doesn't belong next to these two. Now these two are shockingly similar. Like, it's almost like when they made this, they listened to everybody, all the people that didn't like the Legato. Like, I find these be incredibly detailed stuff. Again, you just gotta put some power to it, and you gotta be willing to turn the volume up. Spend time actually finding the proper tips. You will love them. They are very detailed. Even the bass can get tight. It can be punchy. It can be textured and detailed. These, again, it's like all the complaints. The people that said, oh, they sound like it has slow bass. There's too much body in the mids. There's bass bleed. There's not enough treble. They're too big. It's like, okay, everything. They took this sound and then made those fixes. So now you got tons of bass, but it's not as full body. It's now this quick, snappy bass, but there's lots of it. I was shocked how much bass was there, because look, I seen a graph. The graph was so different than what I'm hearing. I don't know if it's actually real, or if it's like there was some confusion, or maybe it's just on a rig that I'm not familiar with. But tons of bass. Tons of bass. It's just a leaner, not necessarily, I guess, more detailed, but only in the sense because it's not as full bodied as this, but it's big, it's powerful. And then you get to the mids, and the mids aren't as thick as the legato. They're a little thinned out, so you can hear some more detail going on in the mids. It's nothing crazy. I'm talking like small percentages, but you will notice things that you didn't exactly notice here. The detail of both of these just crush these other two up there. It's not even close. We're talking like EA 500 level detail. Both of these. Like I've said it in my video for the legato, they really do. You get the proper source, proper tips. They're EA 500 level detail with better soundstage, big bass, and all that. This is kind of EA 500 level detail, probably even more. There's lots of detail here. Lots. Like when you first put it in, especially if you're on planers, you're gonna first think, shit, these sound like well-tuned planers, and not necessarily a kind of I want to say a poorly tuned dynamic, but they're not necessarily poorly tuned. They just have similar issues to this. Like in this video I mentioned, or it has, despite all the warm gooey bass and the lush mids and stuff, there are some areas where this gets kind of peaky, and without proper tip swaps and stuff and proper power, you can get times where you hear some sibilance. Something might get a little piercing for a second. These suffer from that much more. Much more. When I first put it in, my first initial thoughts were, what is wrong with these things? Like I was hearing this weird echo. Not necessarily echo, but it was like this hint of reverb. It was almost like a hint of that concert hall effect. And then I was getting just sibilance and everything. And at first that was with the stock tips. Started playing with other tips, and again, I'm struggling to get a fit. So at this point, I'm literally got my fingers on the side of these, pushing them in my ear, trying to hold them where I have a seal, trying to evaluate these. And now I go through tips. I get these on there, and again, only 4 of 2 dozen actually sealed in my ear. And out of those 4, I just happened to be lucky enough to have these ones. Let's see if I can kind of show you, because the stem on them just as comes up a little bit below the lip here. This is a very soft but thick silicone, and it's a decent bore. Not super huge, but it's a decent sized bore. And see if you guys can get a better look at that. Man, it is so dark. I wish my lighting was better. I apologize for that. Hopefully, I might end up having to do a part 2 on this, and I'll try to at least get better lighting for that one. Figure that out. But I put these tips on, and it definitely helped that sibilance. Now, I still get sibilance, but it's much more subdued, and it's also now position dependent. So if I make sure I have them fit in my ear just right, I'll have no sibilance. It'll be a very crisp, forward, like, I don't want to say forward because the mids are kind of recessed, especially compared to the bass, but they're even kind of recessed to the treble. So it is a V-shaped IEM, but there's a lot of energy everywhere with these. Everything's going for that crisp cleanness that the EA 500 offers. It's just even more intense, even more crisp, possibly even more clean. However, it doesn't have the smoothness that the legato has or the EA 500 has. I know some people have said the EA 500 might be a little too cold for them, a little too aggressive. if the EA 500 is too much for you, I don't know if there's going to be tips that'll fix these enough to make it below that level. But you can get very close to that with tips similar to what I have on here. Like the treble really isn't much of an issue. The treble's kind of good. It's nice. It's very present. It's actually very natural sounding. It's shocking. Like, I actually had a jump scare from these. Not necessarily from the treble, but had these tips in and I'm listening and I'm lying in bed. I got my head up against the headboard. I can't remember what song I'm listening to, but all I hear is that. And it was part of the song, but I'm in a room, the lights are off, I'm by myself, and now I'm jumping up because my eyes are closed. I'm like, who? What? My heart's racing. Pull my buds out, look around, nobody in the room. So I'm like, what the hell? My heart's still pounding. Put them back in, rewind the song, and there it is. Like, what I love about some of these affordable IEMs, and what I love about just music in general, like sometimes you have these special moments, and not everything is capable of giving you these special, unique listening experiences. Like the legato kind of wasn't doing that for me at first. I had to do a lot of searching for tips and figure out that it really requires power, and it's something that you kind of want to listen to. You can't keep at a low volume and use this as a background thing and still enjoy quality music. You're going to lose a lot of what it can do. But once you crank it up, man, it is impressive. This, on the other hand, doesn't matter if you have it the volume very low, very high, you're always going to get this very clean, clear, and level listening experience. It's always going to have big bass, tight bass, the crisp mids, the nice, clean, splashy treble, not in a painful way, just like as it should, like a cymbal crash sounds as it should. It's just, you feel it just kind of penetrate into your ears the way it should. You can feel the vibrations of the metal guitar strings and all the stuff that I liked about the EA 500. This is doing just with a little more intensity to it, a little more fun added, and that extra bass makes it just a lovely all-around experience. Everything I put on in and listen to with these, I'm thoroughly enjoying. It took effort to get that sibilance away, and it still takes effort to get it away now, even with the tips that help, because these are very position dependent. You have to get them in right. You have to, but they at least in my ears, once I get it in that right spot, the back here almost locks under the ridge of my ear, so they don't move. So with this tips, and once I get it there, it's fine. I now don't have to worry about sibilance. It's just it is kind of intense, but it's intense in an enjoyable way. Once you get that sorted out, there's really nothing too painful. With the wrong tips, these are painful. They will get fatiguing. It can be a lot. But what is here is very, very good. And it's worth putting effort into tips. Source doesn't matter too much. Like, you will notice, like, if you're listening to poorly recorded stuff, that will stand out. If you're listening to MP3s, that will stand out. But it really doesn't matter if you're plugged directly into your phone, if you're plugged into a DAC, you're gonna get something good no matter what. It's not one of the, like that OH300 that is mediocre for $35 plugged into a phone, but you plug it into a full-size desktop amp and it's finally able to beat $50 and up stuff. So this is nothing like that. If it's better than something, it's still going to be better than something when you just plug it directly into your phone. Like, these are a potential home run for some people. I can absolutely see in some people not like this at all, because they are intense. Even with this, and now that I got the sibilance away, they are intense. But the level of detail these have, just, it blows away what the Yelena had to offer as far as detail. It's almost like it's very close to what the EA 500 could have been. Like, that extra sound, like, it's that bass and that sound stage. Even though I know I made some comments about some of the collabs and stuff, the Melee is still a home run for me. The Alenas, not so much. This is like, this could be a game changer for a lot of people, especially people who like that intensity, or who like an analytical sound but still want their big, powerful bass. It's just, it'll come down to, will these fit your ears? Will you be able to get a seal? Are you willing to spend more money on tips if you don't have a large collection of tips to make these sound like they should? Because else, like the PR2, it has a tremendous level of detail, but they are painful. They can absolutely be painful. But you can kind of sort it out, but no matter what, they're still intense. These aren't that bad. Not at all. They aren't quite as detailed, but they do so much more, so much better. Like, these are, and they work with it. It's every genre of music I listen to on these, they sound wonderful. It's all about getting that sibilance sorted. And I see, again, I'm hitting that 40-minute mark. I'm definitely going to have to do a part 2. I'm just going to end this now, do a quick summary, and say these might be a game changer. These could absolutely be somebody's favorite IEM. They're not going to be everybody's favorite. There's probably going to be people out there that can't handle this and are not going to like it. But if you can handle what these things have, there's some amazing technicalities in these. It's the analytical version of a legato. It has that quantity of bass, not necessarily as it's just the tightness that makes it seem like it's a little bit lower, but there's so much, like, compared to stuff like the Zero and this TriStar River, the bass is almost in the absurd level compared to those. So you're getting tons of bass, tons of detail in the bass. It's so good. Vocals, once you get the sibilance sorted, nicely detailed. You can even hear people tripping over their words. You can hear when spit flies out of a singer's mouth at times, like stuff that I haven't heard in any of these cheap IEMs, like the sub $100 stuff. Like, I wasn't even really kind of getting that with the PR2. Like, I wasn't getting it like some with the Dioko, wasn't with the S12. But with these, it's even, like, it kind of stands out more. You almost notice that stuff more. And the treble, like, the only thing stopping this from being perfect for me is the shape, that fit, and that upper mid lower treble region, and the intensity going on there. Like, you get that sorted though, man, these are an incredible pair of IEMs. And at $80, like, especially if you're willing to EQ at $80, I don't think there's any competition for it. Like, it's kind of a flavor thing. Like, you're saving, it's $30 cheaper than the legato. You're getting legato type bass, except a leaner, tighter legato type bass. It's like, again, it's an analytical version of the legato, but cheaper. Like it, and despite being an analytical version of a fun IEM, it doesn't lose any of the fun. It just, like, these things make some songs magical. So if I highly recommend them. I hope and pray nothing happens. There's no weird filter thing that goes on. They don't start randomly changing the tuning, or they don't, without telling us, swap drivers or something. Like, there's something special about this IEM the way it is. I mean, I would love to see a revision or something where they kind of change the angle of this so it fits better, but I don't know. This is a way to get a lot out of your $80. This is another tier up, and I don't want to go hyping these anything crazy, because there are going to be people who don't like this. There's going to be people who just think they're painful. It's going to happen. Just prepare for that. If you're thinking of buying them, just make sure you prepare yourself that there's a lot going on in this, and you will have to try to fix an issue. These are not problem free, but when you fix that issue, or you just happen to listen to music where that issue doesn't arise, I don't think you could be more happy. I've had these for a week and a half, and still listening to them, they still make me excited. I'm still excited to talk about them. I still want to share and hear other people's thoughts about these, and I want these to sell. Like, this feels like another step in chi-fi. Like, this is another bar. Like, these were good, but these were $110. This is, like, once you break that $100 mark, in my mind, it's kind of puts you in a different space, and you're expected to at least reach a certain level, and not all do. Now we're bringing that level, if not, and arguably, like, so I could see some people preferring this much more over this, just because of that analytical sound and not poweriness, right? Because this takes substantially more power to run than this. These are very efficient, surprisingly. Okay, what else? Hip hop. That's where the sibilance stands out the most. Again, though, you get the tips, you get them situated perfectly in your ear, no sibilance, and hip hop is just incredible. Rock, heavy metal. Even without going crazy and with almost all the tips, I didn't notice sibilance too much in any heavy metal I was listening to. It just was amazing at all times. Like, you hear every little detail. Like, I'm sure with $300 plus IEMs are outperforming it, but we're talking budget sub $100 stuff, and like, my benchmark was the EA 500, and I think the EA 500 in a lot of ways is now obsolete because of the Kailua. Like, they have nice sounds, like the sound stage and separation is so good for the $80 mark. Like, again, like the legato, these things are huge, and I thought that was contributing to the sound stage and stuff, and was giving them that really enjoyable big sound. But no, it wasn't that. Apparently, it wasn't even that big old 12mm driver in there. Nope, these tiny little things just give you this big, massive sound. The only problem I have as far as sound stage and its presentation, outside of like the sibilance or whatever, that again can get fixed, it's not quite at the point where you're getting this 3D holographic sound stage. You weren't getting it with the legato either, but like the EA 500 was more of a very tiny bubble, and you'd get stuff in front, behind, up, down. These are more just wide out, and you're getting a lot of stuff in between, nicely separated. You do get stuff in front of you, but everything's mostly level. There's not a lot going on up above you, behind you, like there's not a whole lot of that going on with this. But everywhere else, they're great. Again, look forward to a part 2 or a little extra for these, because there's so much to talk about with these. I'm already 45 minutes in. I wanted this to be quick. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Tripowin HBB has something special here. I hope people appreciate it, and I hope this has a nice long life, and it sets a new standard for sub $100 stuff. And if we could start seeing things like this trickle down, man, we're in for some good things. Because just the other day, I'm also thinking, are we really progressing like I think we are? Like that OH300 kind of threw me off and had me rethinking a lot of things. I had to go back and check out stuff, and then after the melee, I'm realizing, well, stuff was really good then too. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope all you potential buyers of the Kailua enjoy your purchase. Please leave a comment, thumbs up, subscribe. Thank you guys. Have a good one.